My name is Mary Parker. I am 78 years old. For 46 years, I believed I was married to the love of my life. I lived in a quiet suburb outside a small town in Ohio, in a white house with a porch that creaked when the wind was strong. My husband, Leonard Parker, was a retired engineer. I was a former school librarian. Our children were grown and scattered across different states, busy with their own lives, their own families, their own dreams. People in our town thought we were the perfect elderly couple. They saw us holding hands at church. They saw Leonard pushing my wheelchair on days my knees hurt too much. They saw us smiling at community dinners and retirement events. But every perfect picture has shadows. 3 months ago, something strange began to happen. Every night, at exactly 3 a.m., I would wake up to a sound that did not belong in my house. Soft, trembling moan. First, I thought it was my imagination. Old age can play tricks on the mind, they say. But the sound returned the next night. And the next. And the next. And every time I reached for Leonard in the darkness, his side of the bed was empty. I told myself he must be in the bathroom. Or maybe he could not sleep and went downstairs to read. Leonard had always been restless at night. But one night I listened carefully. The sound was not coming from downstairs. It was coming from the hallway. From the maid's room. Her name was Alina. She was 26 years old, with smooth brown skin and tired eyes. She came to work for us after her mother died and she needed money to survive. I felt sorry for her. I treated her like a granddaughter. I bought her warm clothes in winter. I gave her leftover food to take home. I defended her when Leonard complained about small mistakes. I trusted her. And I trusted my husband. Or at least I thought I did. That night, my heart began to beat like a drum in my chest. I sat up slowly, afraid to make any sound. Leonard's slippers were gone. The hallway light was off. But a thin line of light slipped from under Alina's door. And then I heard Leonard's voice. Low. Familiar. Not angry. Not tired. Not old. It was the voice he used to speak with when he was young. The voice he used when he used to whisper love into my ears. My hands began to shake. I told myself, Mary, do not jump to conclusions. You are old. You are tired. You are imagining things. But something deep inside me knew the truth before my mind could accept it. Before we go deeper into this story, if you love emotional and powerful stories like this, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification button so you never miss the next episode. Also, tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. I really want to know who is here with me. That night I did not open the door. I went back to bed with tears in my eyes and fear in my heart. But from that day I started watching. I watched how Leonard suddenly became kinder to Alina. I watched how Alina avoided my eyes in the morning. I watched how Leonard started dressing better, smelling better, smiling more. And every night at 3 a.m. the same thing happened. Moaning. Whispers. Footsteps in the hallway. Each night my heart broke a little more. Until the night I could not take it anymore. It was raining outside. Thunder shook the sky. The house felt cold, even though the heater was on. At 3 a.m. I woke up again. Leonard was gone. The sound was louder than before. My hands were no longer shaking. They were burning. I got out of bed slowly. My knees hurt, but I did not stop. Step by step I walked down the hallway. The light under Alina's door was bright. The moaning was clearer. My hand reached for the door handle. For a moment I hesitated. If I open this door, my life will never be the same again, I thought. But I opened it. And what I saw inside that room made my heart stop. Felt dizzy. The world spun around me. And then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes again, the first thing I felt was cold. Not the cold of winter but the cold of betrayal. I was lying on the floor of the hallway, my cheek pressed against the wooden boards. My head throbbed like someone was beating it with a hammer. The ceiling above me looked strange, blurry, as if it belonged to another house, another life. Then I heard voices. Mary. Leonard's voice sounded sharp, nervous. Madam Mary. Alina's voice trembled. I tried to move but my body felt heavy like it did not belong to me anymore. She is waking up, Leonard said. A shadow fell across my face. A hand touched my shoulder. Mary, can you hear me? Leonard asked. I turned my head slowly. There he was. My husband of 46 years. Standing beside the door of the maid's room. His shirt was half-buttoned. His hair was messy. His face looked younger than usual, not because of happiness but because of fear. Behind him, Alina stood quietly. Her hair was loose. Her eyes were red. Her lips were swollen. I did not need words anymore. Everything I had refused to believe was now standing in front of me. Leonard helped me sit up, but I pushed his hand away. Do not touch me, I whispered. My voice sounded weak, but inside me something was screaming. Mary, please listen, Leonard said. Listen to what? I asked. My eyes moved from him to Alina. She could not look at me. For a long moment nobody spoke. The house was silent again, except for the sound of rain hitting the windows. Finally Leonard sighed. It is not what you think, he said. I laughed. The sound that came out of my mouth did not sound like laughter. Sounded like pain. Not what I think, I repeated. I looked at him carefully, as if I was seeing him for the first time in my life. Leonard Parker. The man who held my hand when our first child was born. The man who cried when my mother died. The man who promised me that he would never betray me, no matter how old we became. Tell me, I said softly. What should I think? Leonard opened his mouth, but no words came out. Alina finally spoke. Madam Mary, I am sorry, she said. Her voice was small, almost like a child's. Sorry, I repeated again. I felt something rising from my chest to my throat. Do you know what sorry means? I asked her. She looked down. Leonard stepped forward. Mary, you fainted. You should go back to bed. We can talk about this in the morning, he said. In the morning, I whispered. For a moment I wanted to scream. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to cry so loudly that the whole town would hear me. But instead I felt strangely calm. Whoa, said. Leonard froze. Whoa. I repeated louder this time. We will talk now. He looked at me like he did not recognize me. I slowly stood up, holding the wall for support. My legs were weak, but my mind was clear. Tell me the truth, said. How long has this been going on? Leonard looked away. Alina started crying quietly. I asked you a question, said. Leonard swallowed hard. 3 months, he finally said. 3 months. The same number of months since I first heard the moaning at 3 a.m. 3 months of lies. 3 months of pretending. 3 months of smiling at me during breakfast while he was sharing secrets with another woman at night. Yes. My voice was not angry. It was tired. Leonard rubbed his face with his hands. I did not plan it, Mary, he said. Just happened. Just happened. I repeated slowly. He looked at me with eyes full of confusion. You have been distant for years, he said. You are always tired. Always in pain. Always sleeping early. Felt lonely. Lonely. The word pierced my heart like a knife. I stared at him. So you decided to sleep with our maid, said. Leonard opened his mouth, but he could not deny it anymore. Alina began to speak again. Madam Mary, I never wanted this, she said through tears. He was kind to me. He listened to me. I felt safe with him. I felt my hands tighten into fists. Safe in my house, said. The three of us stood there, surrounded by silence and shame. Finally, I felt the weight of everything crash down on me. I turned away. Go back to your room, I told Alina. She hesitated. Oh, I said again. Alina walked past me slowly, her head bowed, and disappeared into her room. Now it was just Leonard and me. The hallway felt empty, even though we were standing in it together. "Mary," Leonard said softly. I looked at him. For the first time in my life, I saw him as a stranger. "Do you love her?" Yes. The question hung in the air like smoke. Leonard looked shocked. "Well," he said quickly. "Course not." "Then what is this?" Yes. He did not answer. I walked past him without another word and went back to our bedroom. I closed the door gently. I did not cry. Not yet. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. My life began to replay in my mind like an old movie. I remembered the day Leonard proposed to me under the oak tree near my college library. I remembered how he carried me in his arms after I twisted my ankle during our first vacation. I remembered how we built this house together, brick by brick, dream by dream. I also remembered the nights he turned his back on me, the days he stopped listening, the years when love slowly turned into habit. But I never imagined betrayal. That night, Leonard did not come back to bed. I heard him walking around the house until morning. When the sun finally rose, I felt something inside me change. The woman who believed in fairy tales died that night. In her place, another Mary Parker was born. A woman who would not cry quietly anymore. A woman who would not beg for love. A woman who would not accept humiliation in silence. But I did not act immediately. I watched. In the days that followed, Leonard tried to behave like nothing had happened. He cooked breakfast for me. He asked about my health. He smiled more than usual. Alina became quieter. She avoided staying alone with Leonard when I was around. She spoke less. She walked faster. But at night I noticed something strange. Even after everything was exposed, Leonard still woke up at 3 a.m. sometimes. He did not always go to her room. Sometimes he just sat in the living room, staring into space. One evening, I overheard him talking on the phone. "I am tired of pretending," he said softly. "I cannot live like this forever." My heart skipped a beat. Pretending. I realized something terrifying. What I had seen that night might not be the whole truth. Maybe Leonard and Alina were not the only secrets in this house. Maybe there was something bigger, something darker. Something that had been hidden from me for years. And at that moment I made a decision. If Leonard thought I was too old to understand, too weak to fight, and too blind to see the truth, he was wrong. Very wrong. I would not confront him again. I would not shout. I would not cry in front of him. Instead, I would become quiet. I would become patient. And I would start digging into the life of the man I thought I knew. Because sometimes the most dangerous woman is not the one who screams. It is the one who smiles while planning her awakening. That night, as I lay in bed alone, I heard Leonard's footsteps in the hallway again. He stopped in front of Alina's door. But he did not knock. He stood there hesitating. Then he turned around and walked away. I closed my eyes slowly. And in the darkness I felt it clearly. This story was not just about betrayal. It was about a secret that would destroy everything I believed about my marriage. And soon I was going to uncover it. The morning after that night, the house felt different. Not because the walls had changed. Not because the furniture had moved. It felt different because I had changed. I woke up before sunrise as I always did. My bones ached but my mind was sharp. Leonard was still asleep. His back turned to me. For the first time in 46 years, I did not feel the urge to touch him. I watched him breathe. Once that sound used to comfort me. Now it sounded like a lie. I got out of bed quietly and walked to the kitchen. The kettle whistled softly as I poured water into it. Outside, the sky was pale gray, like it was unsure whether to cry or smile. Alina entered the kitchen a few minutes later. "Good morning, Madam Mary," she said in a low voice. "Good morning," I replied calmly. She froze for a second, surprised by my tone. I did not look angry. I did not look sad. I looked normal. That scared her more than anger ever could. She stood near the sink, washing dishes that were already clean. Her hands trembled slightly. "Lena," I said gently. She turned to me quickly. "Yes, Madam Mary." "Sit down," said. She hesitated. "Sit down," I repeated. She slowly sat at the dining table, her back straight like a student waiting for punishment. I poured tea into 2 cups and placed one in front of her. "Drink," said. Her eyes widened. "Madam, I am sorry about last night," she whispered. I looked at her carefully. She was young, beautiful, broken in her own way. I wondered how Leonard saw her. "Do you love my husband?" I asked quietly. She almost dropped the cup. "Well," she said quickly. "Swear." "Then why did you allow him to touch you?" Yes. Her lips trembled. "I did not know how to say no," she said. "He helped me when I had nobody. I was afraid to lose my job. I was afraid to be alone again." Her words hit me harder than I expected. For a moment, I did not see her as an enemy. I saw her as a scared child. But pity could not erase betrayal. "Listen to me carefully," said. She nodded. "From today, things will change in this house," said. "You will do your work. You will respect boundaries. You will not enter my husband's private space again. Do you understand?" She nodded again, tears in her eyes. "Yes, Madam Mary." I stood up. "You may go," said. She left the kitchen quietly. I sat alone at the table for a long time. I did not feel victory. Felt something heavier. A strange feeling that the real battle had not even started. Later that day, Leonard tried to talk to me. "Mary, can we discuss what happened?" he asked while I was watering the plants in the garden. "There is nothing to discuss," I replied. He sighed. "You cannot pretend like everything is fine," he said. I looked at him. "I am not pretending," said. "I am observing." He frowned. "Observing what?" I replied simply. He looked uncomfortable. That afternoon, I decided to do something I had never done before. I entered Leonard's study. For years, that room had been his territory. He kept his files, documents, and old computers there. I rarely entered because he always said his work papers were messy and boring. But that day I did not ask permission. I closed the door behind me and looked around. The shelves were full of dusty folders. Old framed photos hung on the wall. His laptop sat on the desk, slightly open. My heart began to beat faster. I sat on his chair slowly. The laptop was locked with a password. I stared at the screen. Leonard was not very creative with passwords. He always used simple things. I tried our wedding date. Wrong password. I tried our daughter's birthday. Wrong password. I tried his favorite football team. Wrong password. Then something crossed my mind. I typed Alina's name. The screen opened. My hands froze on the keyboard. For a moment I could not breathe. So it was true. He had changed his digital life for her. I opened his emails. First I saw normal things. Bank notifications. Retirement pension updates. Messages from old colleagues. Then I found a folder titled Private. My fingers hesitated. But I clicked it. Inside there were dozens of emails. Not just from Alina. From other women. Some messages were old. Very old. My chest tightened. I opened one of them. "Leonard, I miss you. When will you come back to Texas?" Another one. "You promised you would leave her one day. Why are you still with that old woman?" Another. "I am pregnant. You cannot ignore me forever." My vision blurred. My hand shook so much that I almost dropped the mouse. This was not a mistake. This was not loneliness. This was a pattern. My husband had not just betrayed me once. He had been living a double life for years. I scrolled further. Hotel bookings. money transfers, secret conversations. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. Recent email. From a lawyer. Subject: property and inheritance arrangement. I opened it slowly. The words on the screen felt unreal. Leonard was discussing how to change his will. He was planning to transfer part of our house and savings to someone else. Not to me. Not to our children. But to a name I had never seen before. Evelyn Hart. My heart stopped. Who was Evelyn Hart? I stared at the screen, feeling like the ground under my feet had disappeared. At that moment, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Low. Heavy. Someone was coming toward the study. The door handle began to move. And I realized with horror that Leonard was about to walk in. And he was going to find me sitting in his chair, reading the secrets he never wanted me to see. The door handle turned slowly. For a second I thought my heart would jump out of my chest. Quickly closed the laptop. The screen went dark just as the door opened. Leonard stood there. His eyes moved from the laptop to my face. "Mary," he said softly, "what are you doing here?" I held onto the armrest of the chair to steady myself. "I was looking for an old photo album," I said calmly. He did not answer immediately. He stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. The silence between us felt heavy. "You know I do not like anyone touching my work things," he said. I stood up slowly. "No," I replied. He studied my face, as if trying to read my thoughts. "Did you open my laptop?" he asked. I looked at him without blinking. "Well," said. For a moment, I wondered if he could hear my heartbeat. He stared at me for a few seconds longer, then sighed. "I am sorry for what happened," he said quietly. "I never wanted to hurt you." I looked at him. "Hurt me?" I repeated. "Leonard, you did not just hurt me," said. "You erased me." His eyes widened slightly. I walked past him toward the door. "Mary," I called. "Stop. If there is something you want to tell me," I said without turning around. "This is your chance." He opened his mouth. Then he closed it again. I left the study. That night I could not sleep. The name Evelyn Hart burned in my mind like fire. Who was she? Why was Leonard planning to change his will for her? Why had he hidden her from me? The next morning, Leonard left the house early. He said he was going to meet an old friend. Smiled. Old friend. As soon as his car disappeared down the street, I picked up my coat and handbag. I had made a decision. If Leonard would not tell me the truth, I would find it myself. I drove slowly through town, my hands tight on the steering wheel. I did not know where to start. But I knew one thing. Leonard was not good at lying about places. When he said he was meeting an old friend, he usually went somewhere familiar. I remembered a cafe he used to visit often when he was still working. It was on the edge of town, near the old railway station. I parked across the street and waited. Minutes passed. Then I saw his car. My breath stopped. Leonard stepped out of the car. He looked nervous. He checked his watch. Then another car pulled up beside him. A woman stepped out. She was tall, elegant, maybe in her early 50s. Her hair was silver but carefully styled. She wore a beige coat and sunglasses. She looked confident. She looked like someone who belonged to Leonard's world. Leonard smiled when he saw her. A smile I had not seen in years. They hugged. Not like old friends. Like people who knew each other deeply. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. So this was Evelyn Hart. I watched as they walked into the cafe together. For a moment I wanted to drive away. But something stronger than fear pushed me forward. I got out of the car and followed them. Inside the cafe, the smell of coffee filled the air. I chose a table far from them but close enough to see their faces. They sat near the window. Leonard leaned forward, speaking softly. Evelyn listened carefully. She nodded slowly. At one point, she reached across the table and touched his hand. My stomach tightened. I had seen that gesture before. It was the same way I used to touch him when we were young. I could not hear their words, but I could read their emotions. Leonard looked tired. Evelyn looked calm. Then she said something that made Leonard freeze. He leaned back in his chair, shocked. She pulled out a folder from her bag and placed it on the table. Leonard stared at it for a long moment. Then he slowly opened it. His face changed. He looked scared. Very scared. I leaned forward slightly, my heart racing. What was in that folder? Suddenly, Evelyn turned her head. Her eyes met mine. For a second the world stopped. She stared at me. Not with surprise. Not with fear. But with recognition. As if she already knew who I was. As if she had been expecting me. A slow smile appeared on her lips. And in that moment I realized something terrifying. This woman was not just part of Leonard's secret. She was part of my story too. Even though I had never seen her before. She whispered something to Leonard. Leonard turned around slowly. His eyes met mine. His face went pale. "Mary," he whispered. The cafe felt suddenly too small. Everyone else disappeared. It was just the three of us. Past, present, and betrayal sitting in the same room. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to walk toward their table. Leonard stood up too. "Mary, what are you doing here?" he asked. I smiled gently. "I came to meet your old friend," said. Evelyn stood up gracefully. Her eyes never left mine. "Mary Parker," she said calmly. My heart skipped a beat. "You know my name?" he asked. She nodded. "Course," she said. "I've heard so much about you." Her voice was soft, but her words felt like knives. Leonard looked at her sharply. "Evelyn, please," he said. She ignored him. She looked at me again. "We need to talk," he said. "Alone." Leonard shook his head. "Well," he said. But Evelyn did not look at him anymore. She only looked at me. "There are things about your husband that you deserve to know," she said quietly. My fingers tightened around my handbag. For a moment I felt dizzy again. But I did not faint this time. I nodded slowly. "Fine," said. Leonard's face was full of fear. "Mary, do not listen to her," he said. But it was too late. Because I had already decided. If this woman held the truth, I was ready to hear it. Even if it destroyed the last pieces of my heart. Evelyn turned toward the exit. "Follow me," she said. I took a deep breath and walked after her. Leonard stood frozen behind us. As we stepped outside the cafe, cold wind touched my face. Evelyn stopped near her car and turned to me. Her eyes were calm. "Come, Mary Parker," she said softly. "Are you ready to know who I really am?" The question echoed in my mind. And before I could answer, she said the words that shattered everything I believed about my life. "I am not just Leonard's friend. I am his first wife. And the mother of the child he never told you about." My world cracked open. And I knew nothing would ever be the same again. For a long moment I could not speak. The world around me felt unreal, like a dream that refused to end. "First wife," I repeated slowly. Evelyn nodded. Her eyes were steady. "Yes," she said. "Leonard married me when he was young. Before he met you." I felt a strange pressure in my chest. "Leonard never told me he had been married before," said. "He did not want you to know," Evelyn replied. Behind us the cafe door opened. Leonard stepped outside. His face looked pale, almost gray. "Evelyn," he said sharply. "Stop this." She turned to him. "Stop what?" she asked calmly. "The truth." Leonard clenched his jaw. "Mary does not need to hear everything," he said. I looked at him. "Everything?" he asked. Evelyn looked at me again. "Come," she said softly. "Let us sit somewhere quieter." Leonard tried to protest, but I raised my hand. "Let her speak," said. We walked to a small park across the street. The trees were bare, their branches stretching toward the sky like thin fingers. We sat on a wooden bench. Leonard stood a few steps away, restless, like a man waiting for a storm. Evelyn folded her hands on her lap. Leonard and I met in college. She began. He was charming, ambitious, and full of dreams. I listened quietly. We fell in love quickly. She continued. Too quickly. We married when we were 22. My heart tightened. I imagined them young, hopeful, building a life together. But Leonard never told me this story. First, everything was beautiful, Evelyn said. But after 2 years, Leonard changed. He became distant. He wanted more money, more success, more freedom. I tried to hold the marriage together, she said. But he started disappearing for days. I looked at Leonard. He stared at the ground. One day I found out I was pregnant, Evelyn said. My breath caught. I thought the baby would bring us closer, she said softly. But Leonard panicked. He said he was not ready to be a father. Leonard looked up. That is not fair, he said quietly. Evelyn turned to him. Fair, she repeated. You told me to get rid of the baby. The words hit me like thunder. I felt my hands tremble. Leonard, I whispered. He could not look at me. I refused. Evelyn continued. I told him I would keep the child, with or without him. Leonard stepped closer. Evelyn, please, he said. She ignored him again. 2 months later, Leonard left, he said. He moved to another state. He changed his job. He cut off all contact. I swallowed hard. I searched for him for years, Evelyn said. But he disappeared. Leonard finally spoke. I was young, he said. I was afraid. Afraid. I repeated bitterly. Afraid of responsibility, Evelyn said. Afraid of being a man. He turned back to me. Mary, do you know what it feels like to raise a child alone while the father pretends you never existed? She asked. I did not answer. My throat was too tight. I worked 2 jobs, he said. I gave up my dreams. I raised our child with my own hands. Our child. The words echoed in my mind. You have a child? I asked Leonard quietly. He nodded slowly. Yes, he said. How old? I asked. Evelyn answered. 54, he said. My heart skipped. 54 years old. Older than our youngest child. So Leonard had been hiding a son or daughter for more than 5 decades. Why are you telling me this now? Asked Evelyn. She took a deep breath. Because Leonard contacted me last year, she said. Leonard stiffened. You should not say that, he said. But Evelyn continued. He found me through social media, she said. He said he was sick of lies. He said he wanted to fix the past. Fix the past, I repeated. She looked at Leonard. He wanted to meet our child, she said. He wanted to be part of their life again. My chest burned. So while I was cooking for him, caring for him, growing old beside him, he was searching for another family. But there is more, Evelyn said quietly. I looked at her. Our child is not just anyone, she said. Leonard closed his eyes. Do not say it, he whispered. Evelyn looked at me directly. Mary, she said slowly. Your husband's first child is not just alive. They are living very close to you. Very close. I felt my breath leave my body. Close, I whispered. How close? Evelyn leaned forward slightly. Her voice was low. They have been in your life for years. And you never knew who they really were. The world around me began to spin again. I felt the same dizziness I felt the night I opened Alina's door. And suddenly I was afraid. Afraid of the answer that was coming. Because deep inside I felt a terrible intuition. The person Evelyn was about to name was someone I trusted. Someone I loved. Someone I never imagined could be connected to Leonard's past. I looked at Evelyn with shaking eyes. Oh, I whispered. I paused. Then she said the name slowly. Lena, the maid. Leonard's first child. And in that moment my reality shattered completely. For a few seconds I thought I had misheard her. Lena, I repeated slowly. Evelyn nodded. Yes, she said. The maid. The young woman who cooked my meals. The girl I treated like family. The person I defended against Leonard's complaints. Leonard's daughter. My ears began to ring. Well, I whispered. That is impossible. Leonard stepped forward. Evelyn, stop, he said loudly. But Evelyn did not stop. Why do you think she came into your house so easily? She asked me quietly. Why do you think Leonard insisted on hiring her, even when you said you were not comfortable with a young stranger living with you? My mind began to replay old memories. The day Alina arrived. Leonard's sudden interest in her application. His unusual kindness. His secret smiles. Felt sick. Leonard said slowly. Tell me the truth. He looked at the ground. Say it, I demanded. His silence was the answer. Mary, I did not plan it like this. He said finally. I did not know at first. Did not know what? Asked. That she was my daughter. He said softly. My knees almost gave way. Evelyn continued. When Leonard contacted me last year, I told him about Alina. He said. I told him she wanted to meet her father. Leonard swallowed hard. She needed a job, he said. She was struggling. So you brought her into our house, said. Yes, he admitted. Without telling me, said. He nodded. I felt something inside me snap. So every night at 3 a.m., I whispered. What was really happening? Leonard's face turned red. Evelyn looked at him with disgust. Tell her, he said. Leonard opened his mouth. But no words came out. My hands shook. Were you sleeping with your own daughter? Asked slowly. The question felt unreal. Leonard looked up suddenly. Well, he said quickly. Never. I stared at him. Never. I repeated. Then why did I hear moaning? Asked. Why did I see you in her room? Asked. Leonard looked desperate. I was not touching her, he said. She was having nightmares. Nightmares. I repeated. Yes, he said. She has trauma. She cries at night. She screams in her sleep. I looked at Evelyn. Is that true? Asked. Evelyn nodded slowly. Alina has suffered a lot, he said. Her childhood was not easy. She has panic attacks at night. My heart twisted. So what I saw that night? Asked. Leonard looked at me with pain. I was trying to calm her, he said. She was shaking. She was crying. I held her hand. Held her hand. I repeated. Leonard nodded. Yes, he said. The images in my mind began to change. The messy hair. The half-buttoned shirt. The swollen lips. Felt confused. Then why did you hide it? Asked. Leonard sighed deeply. 'Cause I was ashamed, he said. Ashamed that I had abandoned her mother. Ashamed that I had a child I never told you about. Ashamed that I brought her into our house without your consent. I looked at Evelyn. Is that everything? Asked. Evelyn hesitated. Her eyes moved from Leonard to me. Not everything, she said quietly. My heart tightened again. What else? Asked. Evelyn took a deep breath. Alina did not come to your house by accident, he said. I frowned. What do you mean? She came with a plan, Evelyn said slowly. My chest tightened. Plan. I repeated. Evelyn nodded. She wanted to see her father. She wanted answers. And she wanted justice. Justice. Asked. Leonard looked at her angrily. Do not twist the story, he said. But Evelyn continued. Alina knew about you before she came, he said. She knew you were Leonard's wife. She knew you were wealthy. She knew about your house, your lifestyle. I felt a strange chill. So she pretended to be a helpless maid. Asked. Evelyn nodded. First, yes, he said. She wanted to enter your life quietly. She wanted to understand who you were. My mind began to spin again. Every smile, every polite greeting, every moment of kindness. Were they all fake? Why did she want to understand me? Asked. Evelyn looked at me with complicated eyes. Because in her mind, she said softly, you were the woman who replaced her mother. The words hit me like fire. Replaced her mother. I felt anger rise slowly. So she hated me, said. Evelyn shook her head. Not at first. she said. But feelings change. Leonard stepped forward. Mary, he said softly. I never wanted to hurt you. I laughed bitterly. You never wanted to hurt me. I repeated. Yet you built a house of lies around me. He lowered his head. At that moment I realized something painful. I was not just a betrayed wife. I was a stranger living in a story that had started long before I entered Leonard's life. But something inside me refused to break. I looked at Evelyn calmly. So why are you telling me all this now? I asked. Evelyn's eyes hardened. Because Leonard is planning something again, she said. My heart skipped. Planning what? I asked. She looked at Leonard. Tell her, she said. Leonard looked at me with tired eyes. Mary, he said quietly. I want to change everything. I frowned. Change what? He took a deep breath. I want to leave this house, he said. I want to recognize Alina publicly as my daughter. And I want to give her part of our property. The words echoed in my ears. Leave the house. Give her part of our property. Publicly recognize her. So that was why he contacted lawyers. So that was why he wanted to change his will. So that was why my peaceful old age was suddenly shaking. I felt something strange. Not fear. Not sadness. But clarity. For the first time in months my mind felt clear. So this is your plan? I said quietly. Leonard nodded. Yes, he said. I looked at Evelyn. Is that why you came? Yes. She nodded. Yes, he said. Came to warn you. Warn me. I repeated. She looked into my eyes. Mary, she said softly. If Leonard succeeds, your life will never be the same again. I looked at Leonard. He stood there like a man waiting for judgment. For a long moment nobody spoke. Then I smiled. Slow, calm smile. Leonard blinked. Mary, he said nervously. Why are you smiling? I stood up slowly. 'Cause, I said quietly. You think I am old. You think I am weak. You think I will accept whatever you decide. I looked at both of them. But you forgot something. I am Mary Parker. And this house, this marriage, and this life were built with my blood and tears too. I walked closer to Leonard. If you think you can erase me from your own story, I said softly, you are about to learn something new about me. Leonard stared at me, confused. Evelyn watched me carefully. And in that moment, I made a silent promise to myself. I would not fight with noise. I would fight with wisdom. I would not destroy them with anger. I would destroy their plans with truth. And they would never see it coming. That night, as I returned home alone, I felt something awaken inside me. The grandmother who cried quietly was gone. In her place stood a woman who was ready to rewrite her destiny. And the next move in this game would be mine. But what I did not know yet was this. Alina had her own secret. A secret that would turn all of us into victims. And when I discovered it, even I would wish I had never opened that door at 3 a.m. That night I did not sleep. Leonard returned home late, quietly, like a guest afraid of being chased away. He did not enter our bedroom. He slept on the couch downstairs. I heard him moving in the dark, opening drawers, closing doors, walking slowly like a man carrying a heavy burden. But I was not thinking about Leonard anymore. I was thinking about Alina, the girl who called me Madam Mary, the girl who smiled shyly in the mornings, the girl who cried in her room at night. Leonard's daughter. But also something else. Something Evelyn had hinted at. She has her own secret. Those words kept repeating in my mind. The next morning I woke up early again. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I walked to the kitchen. Alina was not there. Usually she woke up before me. I frowned. I checked her room. The door was closed. Alina called softly. No answer. I knocked. Still no answer. A strange fear entered my heart. I slowly opened the door. Her room was empty. The bed was neatly made. Her suitcase was gone. Her clothes were missing from the wardrobe. She had left. My heart began to beat faster. Why would she leave without saying anything? I rushed downstairs. Leonard was sitting on the couch, staring at his phone. Where is Alina? he asked. He looked up surprised. What do you mean? He asked. She is not in her room, said. Her things are gone. Leonard stood up quickly. He said. He ran upstairs. Followed him. When he saw the empty room, his face changed. He pulled out his phone and started calling her. No answer. Again. No answer. He looked at me. She did not tell me anything, he said. I crossed my arms. She is your daughter, said. Did she not trust you enough to say goodbye? Leonard looked hurt. Mary, do not start, he said. Start what? He asked. The truth, said. He did not answer. Few minutes later his phone rang. He answered quickly. Lena, he said. His voice softened. Where are you? He listened silently. His face turned pale. What do you mean? He asked. I stepped closer. What is it? He asked. He did not answer me. He continued listening. Slowly his hand began to shake. Whoa, he whispered. Do not do anything foolish. My stomach dropped. Leonard looked at me with terrified eyes. She is at the hospital, he said quietly. Hospital, I repeated. Wait. He swallowed hard. She says she has something to tell us. Something big. Something that will change everything. My heart tightened. Change everything. We drove to the hospital in silence. The road felt endless. Leonard did not speak. I did not speak either. But my mind was screaming. What could be worse than what we already knew? When we arrived, the smell of disinfectant filled the air. We asked the nurse for Alina's room. She led us to the third floor. Room 312. Leonard stopped in front of the door. His hand hovered in the air. He hesitated. Open it, I said quietly. He looked at me. Mary, he said. Whatever is behind that door, said. We face it together. He nodded slowly. He opened the door. Alina was sitting on the bed. Her face looked pale. Her eyes were swollen from crying. When she saw Leonard, tears rolled down her cheeks. Papa, she whispered. The word hit me hard. Leonard froze. He had never heard her call him that before. He walked slowly toward her. Lena, he said softly. She looked at me. Madam Mary, she whispered. Her voice was trembling. I stepped forward. You ran away, I said gently. She nodded. I was afraid, she said. Afraid of what? I asked. She looked down at her hands. Then she lifted her eyes slowly. Afraid of the truth, she said. Leonard frowned. What truth? He asked. Alina took a deep breath. Her lips trembled. I have been lying to you both, she said. My heart stopped. Lying about what? He asked. She looked at Leonard. I am not just your daughter, she said. Leonard's eyes widened. What do you mean? He asked. Alina's voice became quieter. I am not only your child. I am also carrying your grandchild. The room went silent. The words hung in the air like smoke. Carrying your grandchild. For a moment I thought I was going to faint again. Leonard's face turned white. He whispered. Alina started crying. I am pregnant, she said. My ears rang. Pregnant. My mind raced. If she was pregnant, then who was the father? Leonard's voice shook. Who did this to you? He asked. Alina closed her eyes. Her shoulders trembled. Then she whispered the name. His name is Daniel. My breath stopped. Daniel. Our grandson. Leonard and my grandson. My hands began to shake. Daniel was my daughter's son. He was 24 years old. He visited us often. He laughed with Alina. He talked to her in the kitchen. He helped her carry groceries. I remembered all the moments I had seen them together. Their smiles, their jokes, their closeness. I had thought it was harmless. I had thought it was normal. But now every memory felt poisoned. Leonard stumbled backward. Whoa, he whispered. Alina cried harder. It was not planned, she said. We did not know at first. Did not know what? Yes. That we were related, she said through tears. My chest burned. So my grandson and Leonard's daughter. They had fallen in love without knowing the truth. I felt the world collapse again. Leonard held his head with both hands. "This is my fault," he whispered. I looked at him. "Yes," I said quietly. "It is. Because your lies did not just destroy your marriage. They destroyed the future of innocent people." Alina looked at me with frightened eyes. "Madam Mary," she said softly, "I did not want this to happen." I stared at her. I could see fear, guilt, and pain in her face. She was not a villain. She was a victim of secrets. Leonard sat down slowly on a chair. For the first time he looked like an old man. "What are we going to do?" he whispered. I looked at him calmly. For a long moment I said nothing. Then I spoke. Said, "We stop lying. We face the truth. No matter how painful it is. Because if we continue hiding, this family will completely destroy itself." Alina cried silently. Leonard stared at the floor. And I realized something. The story was no longer about betrayal. It was about consequences. And the next decision we made would either save this family or break it forever. But what I did not know was this. Daniel was already on his way to the hospital. And he did not know that the secret he was hiding was already exposed. When he walked into that room, everything would explode. The hospital room felt smaller with every second. Alina sat on the bed, her hands resting on her stomach, her eyes filled with fear. Leonard sat on a chair like a man whose soul had been drained. And I stood between them, feeling like the only person still able to breathe. We heard footsteps in the hallway. Low, confident, familiar. My heart knew who it was before my ears confirmed it. The door opened. Daniel walked in. My grandson. He was tall, with Leonard's sharp jaw and my daughter's soft eyes. His face looked tired, as if he had rushed there without thinking. He stopped when he saw us. "Grandma," he said softly. His eyes moved to Leonard, then to Alina. Something in his expression changed. "Why are you all here?" he asked. Alina looked down. Leonard could not speak. I took a step forward. "Daniel," I said quietly. He frowned. "What is going on?" He walked closer to Alina. "Are you okay?" he asked her. She nodded weakly. "Daniel," Leonard said slowly. Daniel turned to him. "Yes, Grandpa." Leonard's voice trembled. "We need to talk." Daniel laughed nervously. "About what?" The silence that followed was heavy. I looked at Alina. She hesitated. Then she lifted her eyes slowly. "Daniel," she whispered. He looked at her gently. "Yes." Her lips trembled. "I am pregnant," he said. Daniel froze. The words did not reach him immediately. Then they hit him like a wave. "Pregnant," he repeated. Alina nodded. His eyes widened. Daniel looked at me. "Grandma," he said, confused. I looked at him sadly. "Daniel, sit down," said. He did not move. He looked at Leonard. "Is this some kind of joke?" he asked. Leonard shook his head slowly. "Well," he said. Daniel looked at Alina again. "You are serious," he said. Alina nodded, tears in her eyes. "Yes." Daniel stepped backward. He ran his hand through his hair. "Bae," he said quickly. "We can handle this. We will figure it out." Leonard's voice broke. "Daniel," he said. Daniel turned to him impatiently. Leonard swallowed hard. "There is something else you need to know," he said. Daniel frowned. "What else?" Leonard looked at Alina. Then he looked at me. Then he looked back at Daniel. His voice was barely audible. "Alina is not just our maid," he said. Daniel stared at him. "So what?" he asked. Leonard's lips trembled. "She is my daughter," he whispered. The room exploded into silence. Daniel stared at him like he had spoken another language. "Your daughter," he repeated slowly. Leonard nodded. "Yes." Daniel looked at Alina. Then at Leonard. Then at me. His eyes widened. "Wait," he said. "If she is your daughter." His voice broke. "It means." He could not finish the sentence. Alina started crying again. "Daniel," she whispered. Daniel stepped away from her as if she were fire. "Whoa," he whispered. "Whoa." He repeated louder. "This is not real," he said. Leonard stood up. "Daniel, listen to me," he said. Daniel shouted. "Listen to you." His voice shook. "You lied to all of us," he said. "You lied to Grandma. You lied to Mom. You lied to me." Leonard tried to speak. Daniel raised his hand. "Do not touch her," he said sharply. Alina flinched. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "We loved each other," he said. Alina cried. "We did not know," he said. Daniel laughed bitterly. "We did not know," he repeated. He looked at Leonard. "This is your fault," he said. Leonard nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. Daniel's voice became louder. "Do you know what you have done?" he asked. "You destroyed everything," he said. The room felt like it was breaking apart. I stepped forward. "Daniel," I said softly. He turned to me. "Grandma," he whispered. His voice cracked. I held his face gently. "I'm sorry," said. He looked at me with pain. "Sorry," he repeated. I looked into his eyes. "None of this is your fault," said. He shook his head. "But I love her," he said. The words fell like stones. Alina looked at him with trembling lips. "I love you too," she whispered. Leonard closed his eyes. I watched them both. Two young souls trapped in a nightmare created by lies. For a moment I felt anger again. Not at them. At Leonard. At years of secrets. At the silence that poisoned our family. Daniel stepped back again. "What are we supposed to do now?" he asked quietly. No one answered immediately. The hospital room felt colder. Finally I spoke. "We will not run from this," said. Leonard looked at me. "We will not hide anymore," continued. Alina looked at me with hope. "We will tell the truth to the family," said. Daniel stared at me. "Tell the truth," he repeated. "Yes," said. "Because silence has already destroyed us." Leonard looked afraid. "Mary," he said. I turned to him. "You had your chance to hide," said. "Now it is my turn to decide." He lowered his head. At that moment I understood something. The real battle was not between me and Leonard. It was between truth and lies. And I was no longer afraid of the truth. But just when I thought the worst was over, Alina spoke again. Her voice was small. "Madam Mary," she said. I looked at her. "There is something else," she said. My heart tightened. "Something else," I repeated. She nodded slowly. "Yes." Leonard looked at her sharply. "Lena," he warned. She ignored him. Her eyes met mine. "Baby," she whispered, "might not survive." The words pierced the air. Daniel froze. Leonard's face went pale. I felt a strange pain in my chest. Not because of the baby, but because I realized something terrifying. Even if the baby did not survive, the damage had already been done. And the final twist of this story was still waiting to remember itself. Because Alina's secret was not finished yet. And when she revealed the last part, even I would not be able to remain calm. The confession that changed everything. The hospital room was silent again. Alina's words hung in the air like smoke. The baby might not survive. Daniel stared at her. His eyes wide with fear. "What do you mean?" he asked softly. Alina looked down at her hands. "The doctors said there are complications," she whispered. "They are still running tests." Daniel walked closer to her. "You should have told me earlier," he said. Alina nodded slowly. "I was afraid," she said. "Afraid of what?" Daniel asked. She lifted her eyes. "Afraid of the truth," she said. Leonard sighed heavily and turned away. I watched them all carefully. Pain was everywhere in that room. But I felt something else too. There was still something Alina was holding back. I could see it in her eyes. "Lena," I said quietly. She looked at me. "You said there is something else," said. She hesitated. Leonard stepped forward. "Enough," he said sharply. "She has said too much already." I turned to him. "Well," I said calmly. She has not said enough. Leonard froze. I looked at Alina again. I said gently. Her lips trembled. For a long moment she did not say anything. Then she whispered, I did not come to your house only to meet my father. My heart tightened. What do you mean? Asked. Daniel frowned. Alina, he said. What are you saying? She closed her eyes. When my mother told me the truth about Leonard, he said. I was angry. Angry at him. Asked. She nodded. Yes, he said. But also angry at you. I felt a strange chill. Me. I repeated. She opened her eyes slowly. Yes, he said. Daniel looked confused. Why at Grandma? He asked. Alina swallowed hard. Because in my mind, she said quietly, you were living the life my mother never had. The words hit me softly but deeply. I did not interrupt her. I let her continue. I saw your pictures online, he said. Your house, your family, your celebrations. I felt like everything that should have been my mother's life was stolen. My chest tightened. So you came to my house with anger, said. She nodded slowly. Yes, he said. Leonard looked shocked. Lena, he said. But she continued. First, I wanted to see if you were really a good person, he said. I wanted to see if you deserved the life you had. Daniel looked at her with disbelief. And what did you find? He asked. She looked at me. I found a woman who was kind to me, she said softly. A woman who treated me like family. My eyes burned slightly. So why did you still stay? He asked. She looked down again. Because my anger changed, he said. Changed into what? He asked. She hesitated. Into curiosity, he said. Curiosity. Daniel repeated. Yes, he said. I wanted to understand this family. I felt something heavy in my chest. But there is more, she whispered. Leonard closed his eyes. Daniel stepped closer. Tell us, he said. Alina took a deep breath. I also came to your house to test Leonard, he said. Test him. I repeated. Yes, he said. I wanted to see if he would admit the truth to you. Leonard looked at her sharply. Lena, he said. But she did not stop. I wanted to see if he would tell you that I was his daughter, he said. I wanted to see if he would finally become a real father. Silence filled the room. Daniel stared at Leonard. So you knew, he said. Alina nodded. I knew from the beginning, he said. My heart skipped. So all this time, I whispered. You knew who you were in my house. She nodded again. Yes. Leonard looked like he had been stabbed. You played with us, he said. Alina shook her head. Well, he said. I was searching for the truth. Felt dizzy again. So the moaning at night, said slowly. She looked at me. Some of it was real, he said. Some of it was acting. Ting. Daniel repeated. Yes, he said. I wanted to see if Leonard would choose honesty or silence. My chest tightened. And what did you learn? He asked. She looked at Leonard. He chose silence, he said. Leonard lowered his head. So you stayed, said. She nodded. Yes, he said. Because I wanted him to feel what it is like to live with a secret. Her words were sharp. I felt a strange mixture of anger and pity. You used us, Daniel said quietly. Alina looked at him. I never planned to fall in love with you, she said softly. That was not part of my plan. Daniel looked away. My hands trembled slightly. So everything in my house was a test, said. She shook her head. Not everything, he said. Your kindness was real. My respect for you became real. I looked into her eyes. And your pregnancy? Yes. Her voice broke. That was real too, he said. The room fell into silence again. Leonard sat down slowly. I destroyed everyone, he whispered. I looked at him. Well, I said quietly. You started it, said. But we all became part of it. Daniel looked lost. So what happens now? He asked. Nobody answered immediately. I looked at Alina. Your secret is out, said. She nodded. Yes. Leonard looked at me. Mary, he said softly. I turned to him. For years, said. You thought you were the only one controlling the story. He lowered his eyes. But now, continued, everyone knows the truth. I looked at Daniel. I looked at Alina. I looked at Leonard. And suddenly I understood something. This was not the end. This was the beginning. Because the final decision was still ahead of us. And the choice I was about to make would change every life connected to mine. But before I could speak, the door opened again. Doctor walked in. Excuse me, he said gently. We need to talk about the baby. Everyone turned toward him. My heart began to race. The doctor looked at Alina. His expression was serious. Miss Alina, he said. We have the test results. The room froze. Daniel held Alina's hand. Leonard stood up slowly. I felt my breath shorten. 'Cause I knew something. Whatever the doctor was about to say would become the final turning point. And after that moment, nothing in this family would ever be the same again. The doctor stood near the bed, holding a thin folder in his hands. For a moment nobody spoke. The sound of the machines beside Alina's bed was the only thing we could hear. Daniel tightened his grip on her hand. Leonard stood frozen. And I felt something strange inside me. Not fear. Not panic. But a calm that I had never felt before. Miss Alina, the doctor said gently. We have reviewed your test results. Alina swallowed hard. Daniel leaned closer to her. Tell us, he said softly. The doctor took a deep breath. The pregnancy is very fragile, he said. There is a high risk of complications. Alina's eyes filled with tears. Does that mean? Daniel whispered. Means, the doctor said carefully, that the baby may not survive unless strict medical care is followed. The words fell slowly, like stones into water. Daniel closed his eyes. Alina began to cry quietly. Leonard lowered his head. I watched them all. Pain was written on every face. But in that moment I realized something important. This baby was not just a child. It was the physical proof of years of lies, secrets, and silence. And now, life itself was deciding whether that truth would continue or end. We will do everything we can, the doctor said softly, but you must be prepared for any outcome. He nodded politely and left the room. The door closed. Silence returned. Daniel held Alina's hands tightly. I'm here, he said. Whatever happens, I am here. Alina looked at him with trembling lips. Thank you, she whispered. Leonard walked slowly toward the window. He looked outside, but I knew he was not seeing anything. For the first time in his life he looked small. I stepped forward. Everyone looked at me. They expected anger. They expected tears. They expected shouting. But I did not give them any of that. I spoke softly. Enough secrets, said. Leonard turned toward me. Mary, he whispered. For years, he continued, you built your life on silence and fear. He lowered his eyes. You thought hiding the truth would protect us, said. But it destroyed us instead. Daniel looked at me with tired eyes. Grandma, he whispered. I held his hand gently. You and Alina are not enemies, said. You are victims of something you did not create. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Alina looked at me in shock. Madam Mary, she whispered. I turned to her. You came into my house with anger, said. But you also came with pain. She nodded slowly. I understand that now, said. Leonard took a step forward. Mary, he said, his voice breaking. I'm sorry. I looked at him. For a long moment I said nothing. Then I spoke. Sorry cannot fix 46 years of lies. I said calmly. He flinched. But it can begin something new. I added. Everyone stared at me. Leonard looked confused. Moo. He repeated. Yes, said. I turned to Daniel. You will not marry Alina now, I said gently. Daniel froze. Not because of shame. Continued. But because you both need time to heal and understand what happened. He nodded slowly. I turned to Alina. You will stay in this family, said. Her eyes widened. She repeated. Yes, said. Not as a maid, not as a stranger, but as Leonard's daughter. Leonard gasped. Mary, he whispered. I raised my hand. You will not leave this house, I said to him. He looked shocked. He began. You will face your past. Continued. You will tell the truth to the family. You will accept your daughter publicly. And you will live with the consequences of your choices. Leonard's eyes filled with tears. I turned to all of them. I will not fight you with hatred, I said softly. I will not destroy this family with revenge. Pause. Instead, he said, I will rebuild it on truth. Daniel looked at me with disbelief. Grandma, he whispered. After everything he did to you. I smiled faintly. If I choose bitterness, he said, I will become the same kind of prisoner Leonard has been for years. Silence filled the room. Leonard slowly knelt in front of me. Mary, he whispered, crying. I do not deserve you. I looked at him quietly. You are right, said. You do not. He lowered his head. But I am not doing this for you. Continued. I turned to Daniel and Alina. I am doing this for them. I am doing this for myself. And I am doing this because I refuse to let lies define the rest of my life. Alina cried openly now. Daniel hugged her gently. Leonard remained on his knees. And in that moment I understood something clearly. Real victory is not when your enemies fall. Real victory is when you rise above the pain they caused. Weeks later, the baby did not survive. It was painful, but it also became the beginning of healing. Leonard told the truth to the family. Some people were shocked. Some were angry. Some walked away. But slowly, the house began to feel honest for the first time in decades. Alina stayed, not as a maid, but as a daughter trying to understand her father. Daniel stayed too, not as a lover, but as a young man learning to forgive. And Leonard stayed, not as a hero, but as a man finally forced to face the consequences of his life. As for me, Mary Parker, 78 years old, I did not lose my marriage. I did not lose my home. I did not lose my dignity. Found something greater. My voice. My strength. My quiet power. Leonard once thought he could replace me with secrets and silence. But in the end, he learned something he would never forget. I did not need revenge to win. I only needed truth. And that truth changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification button so you never miss another powerful story. Also, tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. Your voice matters here. This is Mary Parker's story. And sometimes the strongest women are not the ones who scream. They are the ones who remain calm while rewriting their destiny.